folks, welcome to another edition of Play Branson, where you get to know Branson's entertainers better. But here's the deal. For the first time ever today, I'm not interviewing a Branson entertainer. Anybody from Branson, for that matter. I'm interviewing a very influential, famous person named Wally Funk. And you may have seen her just recently on national TV. She was one of the first people to go in space with Jeff Bezos, and you were all over national news. But there was a reason that all happened. And what I want to do is I want to go way back. And so, welcome to the show, number one.
Thank you.
But I want to go way back, and I want to talk about your history because it is phenomenal. And so, can you just kind of...
My history has been aviation since I was 2 years old. When I went to a DC-3 wheel and tried to turn it to see if that nut was correct or tight before that DC-3 took off. And I have flown DC-3s, but that started. And then Mother says, I think she's interested in airplanes. And Daddy would bring me balsa wood boxes of airplanes that I would put together, paint, and hang from my ceiling. So I had hundreds of airplanes hanging from my ceiling. And I wish I had them today, but unfortunately when I went to college, they took them down.
Yeah. And so aviation was in your blood at a very young age.
Very.
Yes.
They couldn't understand why.
And
because
so
Mother didn't give me airplanes to play with. They gave me dolls. I was not a girly girl. I was a tomboy. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do what the guys were doing. Towson was only 2,000 people strong. We had the mountains. I skied. I shot. I had pistols and rifles. And when I was 14, I got my Distinguished Rifleman Award, which is the most prestigious award, where you have all four of your targets with all four positions that you're in perfect. And those targets got sent to Washington to NRA, National Rifle Association. And I got a letter back from President Eisenhower saying, you're the first girl that has ever done this. And so that was the flight, that was the shooting part. But I've done every other type of thing outside there is to do. Done tree houses, jumped off the barn in my Superman cape. You name it, I've probably done it.
Yeah. And so take us on your career, because you at a very young age, like you went to college and you were like teaching people how to fly, right?
That's correct.
And then kind of lead us through what happened after that.
Okay, I went to college. I skipped my senior year of high school, and they took me right into Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri.
Missouri, there we go.
And that's a 2-year school, and it's a very prestigious school where you have to be dressed the whole time. How am I going to happen to do that? Well, Mother got me a lot of dresses. You had to be dressed up for dinner, and you had to be dressed up for Sundays. So I was. But the rest of the time I tried to wear Levi's or shorts and t-shirts. However, that wasn't really great. But then when I told them I was interested in aviation, and I went out to the airport just to have a look, and then my advisor, Dr. Bates, called Mother and said, Mrs. Funk, your daughter's not doing too well in her academics. What are we going to do? And Mother said, do you have an airport out there? And he said, yes, we do. And she said, you keep her out there and have her fly. So for 2 years, I flew. I got my private license, started on my commercial license, and then I graduated because it was only 2-year college for girls. And this was in the 50s. And it was great. I love that college. I'm going back next month to go to Stevens, and they're going to award me many things. But it was a great college. Then I saw Oklahoma State. The Flying Aggies were the people that were really winning all the contests from all the schools from around the United States. And the Flying Aggies are still the top notch, because I was just there last week and saw how they were doing with their different airplanes. But being in these two schools, Stevens and going to Oklahoma State, was the best thing that could have happened to me. I got all my aviation. I built airplanes. I've painted them. I've flown them. And then I went into helicopters, and so that was fun too. But when that finished, then I was hired by the FAA to write, and that was kind of interesting, why they wanted me, but I did what I was told, and I wrote for them. I did accidents, the small accidents that people weren't killed. And then when I wrote, NTSB said, "Wally, we'd like to talk to you." And I said, "Great." And I said, "You write so well. We want you to be our first National Transportation Safety Board girl investigator." And so I went to Washington, I was interviewed, and they hired me as their first investigator to do fatal accidents. So I've done...
So you did over 450 investigations. And so here's the thing, if you guys haven't picked up on this yet in the interview, is you were the first in a lot of cases. Like, you were the first this, you were the first that, and so you were kind of a trailblazer.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yes.
Yes.
I did things ahead of my time and did all the 450 accidents that were fatal. And the worst accident I ever had to do was when a 737 was coming in for landing at San Diego, and a 172, they weren't paying attention to each other, and he ran into it, and the whole thing crashed in San Diego and knocked out a lot of San Diego. And I happened to be living in Hermosa Beach, so when I got the call, I got down to San Diego before a lot of the other people did to start doing the investigations. And I'm actually pulling parts of people out of the airplane and the parts of the aircraft out. So that part never bothered me. I could do anything. It's like animals. I've ridden on every animal there is to ride because I was in Africa. It was great. I could do anything, anytime.
So let's go back and let's talk about Mercury 13. So you were a part of Mercury 13 and you volunteered for this Women in Space program.
Mercury 13 was only a bunch of girls that were pilots. And yes, I knew Jerry Cobb, and she said, "You're going to be a Mercury 13. And they were some of the ones that were picked to go to Fort Albuquerque to take some tests. But not all of them made it. I was the one that made it, Jerry made it, and then they stopped. I don't know who stopped it. I think it might have been the president, but we were getting closer and closer to get in with NASA. And of course, that's what I wanted in my heart, was to go with NASA. So when I applied to them to go up into space, because some of my friends had been up to space, that's what I wanted to do, and I still would like to do that. And then when NASA interviewed me, they said, "Wally, we would love to have you. You've done a lot of great things, but you don't have an engineering degree." I said, "Well, I'll go get one."
Wow.
So I was in Kansas at the time, and then went to a college and said, "Sir," I went up to the headmaster, I've come here to get my engineering degree. And he looked at me strange, and he poked me in the shoulder and said, "You're a girl, go to home ec." I was shocked, but as my parents always told me, never be unnice, never be rude, never say anything. I turned around and walked away. That's the only time anybody has ever been silly to me.
Okay, I tell you what, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute with more from Wally Funk.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need iBranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at iBranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. iBranson.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to Play Branson, and we are here today with Wally Funk. Wally is just a lot of national news recently. She was up in space, and we're going to get to that. But so we were talking about Mercury 13, like you were in this select group of people, you were supposed to go into space. That didn't happen. And so just kind of fill us in what's gone on since then with you.
Okay, since that program didn't exist anymore, I told Daddy, I said, I want to buy a Volkswagen camper and I want to go see Europe. So I did that, and Mother sewed a $1,000 bill in my underpants in case I ever would lose a little bit of money. And I paid for the Volkswagen at Brussels. I flew over there from Los Angeles, picked up the camper, and the people were so nice to me at that, wherever it was I was picking it up from the Volkswagen place, because I said, oh, where do I get to stay? Okay, we'll fix you up with a place to stay. I said, okay. Then where do I get gas? There's no signs like we have here in America. So he took me to a place where you go underground to get your fuel. Oh, well, that's kind of interesting. So I knew then how to fill up the gas going underground in different cities. So then he had me in some kind of a hotel, and I made myself comfortable and was sleeping, and I've heard a lot of noise outside, about midnight or something. What in the world is going on outside in the front of this building on the street? I got dressed up and I went out. He had put me in the middle of the red light district hotel. I got my clothes back on, got in the car, and moved on that quickly. So I saw all of Europe, 40-some countries. I did all of Europe, the Mideast, the way on up high and down. I loved Portugal and Spain because I could be on the beach and sleep on the beach and bathe in the beach, wash my clothes on the beach. It was great. Then I would go over into, I'd go over to the Mideast, was over in that part of the world for another couple of months. I came back, I got on a ship, and I went around Europe and then ended up in Africa. And I did 4 or 5 months of Africa, west part, south part, east part. Was fabulous. By this time, it's been about 2 or 3 years that I've been gone and used a Volkswagen camper. Well, I got up to East Africa. In South Africa, I rode every kind of animal there was to ride. It was great, even an alligator.
So in this time frame, you're not doing any flying or anything at this
no,
point. No,
I'm driving.
I
have taught people when I went to India, I had a 99 friend. The 99s is who you have to talk about, said the Mercury 13. 99s are 99 original women pilots that met in New York. What are we going to call ourselves? They counted 99. And I have a 99, I don't have my right jacket on. It's on that one. Yeah, hand me that one. And if anybody ever sees this particular brochure, that's the 99 symbol. It's the wings with the 99 inside. And I'm so proud to be a 99 because anywhere I go in the world, there's always a 99. And they're pilots. You have to be a pilot to be a 99. So anyway, I got up around, I spent a lot of time in South Africa. I had a great time. I met a lot of people. My family knew people in Europe and in Africa, so it wasn't, I knew people to go to. They fed me, they had me stay with them. I could park the car out in the yard and sleep in it. And then I got up to, halfway up to the east side of Africa, and the car, it needed help. They couldn't help me there. So I sold it, and I took the money, and I went back to Brussels and bought a second Volkswagen camper, and then flew back there and picked it up and started all over again, Europe. Yeah. And then I came back to America on a boat and with a camper to New York, and then I wanted to see a lot of America because I'd seen it from the air but not from the ground. There's so many wonderful things to see when you're traveling like that by yourself. I had my little poodle with me when I went over, but she passed away in Switzerland.
So Wally, you've been a trailblazer like all your life. You've been an adventurous person. Like, I mean, you're talking about this adventure, like just traveling all over. And so, like, I just find it really phenomenal. And so you've had this dream of going into space. And so some of the notes said that in 2012, you put money down to go into space to fly on the Virgin Galactic, right?
Affirmative.
And a lot of that came from your book and film royalties and all that kind of stuff. But just recently, on July 1st, 2021, you went into space, but it wasn't on the Virgin.
On the 20th.
The 20th, okay, of the 20th of July? Okay. Yeah, that's right. On July 1st, they announced that you were going to fly. So how did that all happen? Kind of give us this backstory.
Here, I have all my life wanted to get up to International Space Station. And NASA couldn't help me. And there wasn't anything more I could do. So just be around with the people that went to Florida to go up so I could be there with them. So I get a letter from Blue Origin. I don't know who Blue Origin is. And they say that we're going to come and visit you. So they flew their jet over into DFW, and they came and visited me. And it was just two people, a guy and a girl, and they just wanted to see what kind of a person I was, what my personality was, how I was dressed, how I lived, and so forth. That was perfect. They went back, and then 2 days later, Mr. Jeff Bezos flies his airplane, which is a Pilates, which is a great airplane jet, and lands and is brought with two big vehicles into my driveway and 3 white vehicles of cameras. I had 5 cameras set up in the living room to film me. So he and I are talking. I did not know who this man was. And we went to lunch and we joked and kidded around. And then he stood up and he said, Wally, I'm going into space. I want to take you with me. And and you all saw that on TV. I was so shocked. I was so happy that was going to happen. And I hugged him, and it just made my other bad things out of my life go away. So after that visit, 2 or 3 more times, other people from his company. Now, he has thousands and thousands of people that work for him in the industry of aeronautics and engineering. Rows and rows and rows and rows of people on computers doing one particular item that would make that flight work. So, a couple more people came to see me in the Pilates, and they checked me out to see how they were going to make my uniform. So they made a beautiful uniform, and it was all padded. It was all warm. I needed it for here. And then the last time they came, they said, well, Wally, we're going to take you tomorrow if you're ready. And I got on the airplane. Oh, it was a beautiful plane at Pilates. Steve was the person that was the commander. And I said, can I fly? He said, sure, get in the right seat. So I did. I got in the right seat and made the takeoff. He had me turning around, headed back to West Texas. And West Texas, I don't think I've been around that area, is huge. He has thousands and thousands of acres that he owns in West Texas up against the mountains, where he has all of his places where things are built, where things are lifted off, where things land. He had everything just very psychologically built correctly. And he's such a wonderful man. He was so sweet, so nice to me, as was all his people that he hired. So I was there for 4 days, 5 days altogether, and I got my uniform on. Oh, we went hiking in the mountains so we could see all his area that he owned.
Mm-hmm.
He has thousands of people working with him throughout the world, not
So
only
did
just there.
Did they do a lot of tests to make sure you could go
No
into space?
tests.
No tests. Okay.
Like I'd had lots of tests in Russia, lots of tests in Albuquerque to see how my body and my mind worked. He didn't test anything. I guess they liked my attitude when they came to see me.
But they probably knew all of your history as it relates
I
to...
doubt it. Because a lot of those things were, medical things were destroyed by then. It was so long ago. So anyway, got my uniform on. The girl picks me up, Audrey, she comes and wakes me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the way she does it is she runs her hand up my leg. Oh, that felt so good when I'm asleep, and then up on the other leg. You all try it, it's wonderful. And when somebody's asleep, to wake them up. And she said, Wally, it's time to get up. I said, okay, let's do it. I got dressed, had my lunch, my breakfast, and they took me out to where the ground school is going to be in another building. We're driving and driving. And a person that doesn't have anything to do with Jeff cannot be on any of those roads out there in West Texas. They have to be in another city somewhere else. So anyway, I get into the ground school, and there's the 4 of us sitting. There's Jeff and his brother and Oliver and myself, and we have a big whiteboard, and that is like what we're used to is a blackboard. So the instructor's drawing all kinds of things that we're going to be doing in this vehicle, in the pod, and I wish we had something to show, but we don't. And that how we were to act and what we were to do and when we could and could not be in our seats. So we were taught all that for 4 days, and then on the 5th day, they picked me up, had breakfast, and got in our suits, and were taken out to the master pad, which they had just put the vehicle up there 4 hours before. Because I had seen where they built it at the barn, he called it the barns, where he built all his vehicles. And, oh, that is so beautiful. I wish I had those pictures here to show you. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen it on television. So, the big thing was, I was the first one up to go up that 8 flights of steps, and they were pretty, they weren't normal steps that we would hear and have in a hotel. So I got up there and no problem at all, rang the bell, got into the vehicle, the round vehicle, and my seat was number 3, and then, what's his name? Oliver was number 1, I was 3, and then Jeff and his brother were 5 and 6, I think. They had cameras over there to film me and cameras over here to film Jeff. So we couldn't have any jewelry or any cameras, anything up there that might hurt any of the electronics of us going up in this wonderful pod. So we get all strapped in, and I strapped myself in, and boy, they came back and tried to see if they could get me strapped in any tighter. No. So then the takeoff. Oh, it was so magnificent. You hurt a little bit, but you didn't feel a whole lot. So it lifts off from Earth, and we go up and we get into the air, and we're going, and then about 5 miles up, then we start getting into space, and I never felt a thing, not even a bump.
Yeah. Then
we separated, and the vehicle that took us up came down and landed right on the feather, as you would have seen, and then I went on up into space, which was, I had been in a condition where we didn't have any gravity. I did that for a half hour or so or better in Russia. So I knew that I could do anything I wanted in a big room that was no gravity. So I tried it there. However, the area was kind of small, and I didn't want feet to come and hit me on the head, so I didn't do as much turning and twisting around as I could have. I was just more cautious. So I got into my seat after about 6 or 7 twists and sat down because Oliver's feet came over sort of onto my seat or in my area. And got strapped in. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay up there so bad. And
so were you able to, in that process, see did you see the Earth and look
oh
at
no,
it?
it's black.
Oh.
At 5,000 feet miles, it's black on up there.
Okay.
You have to get up much higher to see Earth.
Okay.
I was so disappointed about that, but not to worry. Because other people had sent me pictures back from ISS and what Earth looked like. So Earth looks beautiful just as you would see it on your ball that you have in your room.
So you got to experience no gravity though.
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I had experienced that for 30 minutes or so in Russia.
So you were, in that case, you were, at that point in time, you were the oldest person to go in space, but also the oldest woman to go in space as well.
Affirmative.
Yeah. So that's pretty neat.
No, it's the fact that I got to go finally. I've been thinking and working and traveling, and people have been writing books. There's one book that's excellent. It's called Higher, Faster, Longer by Loretta Hine. She did a wonderful book on me. She's a friend of mine from Albuquerque, and she wrote my story beautiful. Higher, Faster, Longer. You get it from Amazon.
There you go.
But anyway, now we're starting to come down, and we're starting to get into gravity, and it didn't feel any different. It's just that it was a little bit of a rush, and then we're coming down. Oh, it was so swift, and it was so wonderful, so smooth, and then I could start to see the world. Oh, wow, that was great. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing a lot of dust coming up, and I thought, what's that from? And I felt poke, poke, poke is when the
pod
parachutes
okay.
came out and collected us so that we could land very gentle, and we landed on the turf right where he wanted us to be at 1 mile an hour. And then when I looked out again, and then the dust was even flying more. That was such a great trip. And then when we got out, of course, you saw it, how happy I was. But in the end, they gave me a part of the parachute, which was fun, and I loved it. And lots of pictures. I can't tell you all how fantastic that feeling made me feel to be able to come from a little town of Taos, New Mexico, and be able to go up into space. That was fantastic.
Yeah. So just a couple things here is in 2017, you were inscribed into the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum's Wall of Honor in recognition of your contribution to aviation and exploration heritage. You're listed in the Who's Who's in aviation.
Yes.
You actually had an album called The Flight of Wally Funk by an Australian rock band called Spiderbait. I'm like, that's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's a good album or not, but it peaked at number 34 on their charts. So, you've lived a really interesting and amazing life, and you happen to be in Branson for the last couple of days, taking a little trip here, and you've been here in Branson several times before. And so just through some of our connections, we were able to get you here in the studio, and we just appreciate you coming so much to the studio and sharing your story. And, I just think you've had a remarkable career, and you are a very energetic woman.
Thank you. Yeah, I am. I'm ready to want to go again.
Yeah, and so here's the question I want to know is, did Richard Branson give you your deposit back? That's what I want to know.
I haven't asked for it back yet.
Are you want to go with him up in space too?
No, because he did not go up with that column of air like we did.
Okay.
His airplanes, here's the normal airplane, here's the plane that I would have been on. I've been in it because I've been to his place before.
Right.
And it went out of the box.